All right, Luke, up until November of last year, you were still taking fights at 185. So what changed? Why are you up at 205 now?
I've talked about it for a long time, and it just is inevitable. And the last time out, my body just didn't. It failed me. The weight cut was too much. As I get older, it gets harder and harder, and I just didn't recover. I didn't have any strength going into the fight, and I couldn't hold people off. And I think that's gradually happened over time. I changed my style to adapt to that because as the weight was getting too hard, and I'd have to pick and choose my shots and move around, and I couldn't go back to the old me, which was to hunt people, hunt them and go forward and threaten them in every way. My thing is, it's like you're. Excuse my language. If we make it to the ground, there's not a man that can hang with me. And having that in the back of your mind, that opens up my striking, that opens up my wrestling, that opens up everything else. So I got to let people know that I'm coming for them, and the size and the strength at light heavyweight, it gives me that. It gives me the power to push people around and smack people around and do what I want.
When do you think you talk about the last time when your body failed you, that was a Yoel Romero fight, but when do you think you truly lost the ability to hunt guys, like you say, at that weight?
I just think when I was younger, it wasn't so hard on me, and I was able to be just impose my will. I felt more relaxed, looser, and then I was so focused on the weight cut the last few years. I think that's what took a lot out of me. I think there was a big change after the Bisping fight. It was definitely the time off, and you could feel it. I was fluctuating so differently for that David Branch fight, and then going to Australia, fighting out there, the travel, and the process of the weight cut, fighting in the morning with less recovery time, really me up. So that was the biggest deal.
Some fighters don't like talking about this, but I want to bring it up. Is that how do you think it'll affect your ability to take a punch? Because for a long time we didn't think of you as a guy who had trouble taking a punch, and then it seems like in the last few fights that's been a concern. Maybe is Luke's ability to take a punch compromised, and weight cut could play into that. Do you think that at 205 you'll be more durable?
I've never been knocked down in the gym. The only time it's ever happened in a fight. So I can take shots. It's just things happen in fights. I took a punch from probably one of the hardest punches in the game, in Yoel Romero. So took his best shot. I ate it. Happened. I'll bounce back. I think Bisping got a lucky shot. I took a 5-piece from David Branch. Pretty well, I thought. Yeah. Guys like Santos got knocked out with one little shot. So I know I can take shots. I know I can compete, and I'm sure the extra weight will play a factor.
So how much extra weight do you have on? Can you compare yourself? What do you weigh now compared to what you'd be at for a 185 fight?
Yeah, 185, I'd be about 205, ranging, give or take.
So you're cutting 20 pounds a week of?
That's cutting 20, about that. I'm 220 right now, pretty easily, comfortably. I got up a little higher and then wasn't as good, so 220 is a perfect medium. Faster, strong enough to compete with anybody. Athletic ability, technique. I don't see these guys really competing. They don't have the technique. They don't have the skill. They don't have the speed. That's what I'm going to bring to the table.
So you'll be still cutting a good amount of weight, but it's totally different.
Yeah. Starting this high in the body mass, getting down to 205 is hard, and maintaining 205 is harder. Getting down there, I'm worried about every little thing I put in my body, and then obviously depleting from there. My body fat is so low at that point, so it pulls the water out of spots that shouldn't be pulled, and that's hard to recover those organs, your brain, get the fluid back. So this is just going to be easy. I'm gonna sneeze and make weight.
How do you feel about leaving behind the 185? That's been your identity. And you did a lot of great things there, but I also know that obviously you were disappointed with the way the Bisping fight went. Are you happy leaving that division?
I made a mistake in the Bisping fight. You got to just accept it. My body wanted to move on, and I'm not going to force that issue. Of course, holding on to it and wanting to get that back, and screwing that up again with Yoel. It was the sign I needed to move. I needed to go. I've been thinking about it for a long time before that, and finally made it. So it's time to go. It's time to move on. I've done things that a lot of people never will reach. I think I'm the only guy to defend in Strikeforce and have a UFC title. I think DC's the only other guy to hold both titles. And, I defended twice there and maintained here, so it could have been better, but I still got a lot left to do here. So this is where it's at.
How about just the body in general? I think sometimes we forget that you've been in this game for 12 years now. I mean, it's 12 years since your professional debut. How's the body in general?
It feels good. I'm not one that like takes a lot of damage. Of course, I've had a couple places in the limelight where you see me, with my leg with you well and different things. But I've always been pretty to the point when I fight and direct and get out pretty clean. So I'm well. Other than my leg, I think it's pretty sweet, and this thing's healed up quite nicely.
Yeah. I want to ask you about the leg, just to not get super into it, because I know you've talked about it a lot and it's healthy now. But as far as, have you had to change anything in training, or is there any kind of mental hurdle where like something in your brain tells you don't throw that kick, with 100% power, because you generate a lot of power and it's had injuries. I mean, is there sort of a mental side to that, or an adjustment that you make throwing that weapon?
I think there has been in the past. It definitely would have been if I would have fought Weidman at Madison Square. I wouldn't even have probably been able to throw the kick. I'm 100% sure my leg would have just opened up, and it wouldn't have been a pretty sight for everybody. So I was planning on not throwing it and using it, and then over time I got my confidence back, and it'll be gone. It'll be going. It'll be launched.
It's good to go for Saturday.
It's good to go. It's good to go.
Well, how about the guy you're fighting? How did we get here to Jan Blachowicz? How is he the guy?
Jan is all we could get, man. I was looking for everything and more at light heavyweight, and light heavyweight's kind of it's a scarce division of names and of real talent. People with substance. Jan's a tough guy. Not many people know about him. He's quiet. He's Polish. Doesn't really have much charisma. Doesn't talk much. There's nothing to say about Jan Blachowicz. It's like, you want me to do these interviews, what am I supposed to say? The guy's tough, but he's stiff, he's slow, and he's not technical. So that's Jan. He's top ranked guy, the highest ranked guy I could get. 6, I believe, right now. So I just gotta make myself heard on the top of the division, and then that's all that matters.
How many fights does it take to get heard at the top of the division?
Takes a fight.
One, yeah.
Doesn't take much. I've done a lot in this game. Like I said, I'm Strikeforce champ, UFC champ. I've been here. I've done what I've done, and I'll make myself heard Saturday night.
Is that another way of saying you're here to pick a fight with Jon Jones a little bit?
Hey, what else am I here? I'm not here to dance around. I'm not here to just exist and to take fights. I'm not going to do that. If I can't compete at the top, I won't be here. And I know I can, and that's what I'm doing.
How much have you thought about Jon Jones compared to how much you thought about Jan coming into this one?
I'm thinking about Jan.
You are.
I'm thinking about what's in front of me. I'm gonna handle my business. John's an afterthought. John's got his work to do. I got my work to do, and then we'll have a little dance later on.
Yeah, that's it. Are you confident? Are you confident that come Sunday, I'll be writing a column about it's very likely that Luke Rockhold fights Jon Jones? What do you think of Jon? What do you think of the guy?
I don't think much about Jon. It's pretty out there. Everyone knows what Jon is, and I think he's fake. I think Jon is. He just comes across like he's just acting. Just be real about it, and I know what Jon is, but he just can't be that Jon.
Is he intimidating as a potential opponent, though?
Jon's tough. He's tactical. I wouldn't be here. I like to fight. He's not one of those like over-intimidating guys. What is he going to do? Where is he going to take me? He's going to take me to the ground and put me where? He's got his pick and pop his shots on the feet. I'm going to bring the power to him on the feet. Trust me, I'm a different guy at light heavyweight. And on the ground, bottom, top, wherever I'm going to go, I'm going to succeed and I'm going to dominate. There's nobody that can put me on the ground. Nobody.
If everything goes well with Jan, what would be the most satisfying part about fighting John? Would it be fighting a guy that everyone thinks is the greatest of all time? Would it be avenging a guy who had a rivalry with a close friend of yours? Is it still just about the title and John happens to be the guy holding it? What would mean the most to you in fighting Jon Jones?
He's Jon Jones, man. He's been on top, for better, for worse. He somehow still succeeds, and people turn a blind eye, and they just allow Jon to be Jon and do what he does to stay on top. It's for the betterment of the sport. It's to beat Jon Jones, to beat the guy that's been there forever. You know, there's a lot of dark clouds over Jon. I'm a fan of a real sport, a true sport, and it's sad to see how the sport goes sometimes. You know, I think he is what he is, but I think he gets off so much just because he's on top. He's a draw. He is this. He is that. He's very talented, but he's gotten away with a lot of and I'm not a fan of it.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about Jon a little bit more on Saturday night. But last question for you is, you fought once in 2016, once in 2017, once in 2018. Is that okay with you? I mean, or do you feel like you need to get a little bit more active? Would consistency be helpful for you? Or do you think that you're at a point in your career where consistency, you know, getting in the cage frequently is not as important as it once was?
I'm ready to go. It's all about, it's harder than you think, you know, behind the scenes and negotiating and making fights happen that are worth your while. So it's good for me thus far. So it's about being healthy too and being ready to fight, and the time's got to be right. So I'm doing fine. My bank account's sweet.
Well, that's what matters. Right?
That's what really matters, right? Hey, you're gonna fight when you want to fight, and that's all about. That's what fighting is. You shouldn't be forced to fight just because you're getting low in the funds. And I like fighting. I want to fight. I don't have to fight. That's what it's all about.
And you want to take meaningful ones, which I think Saturday's a meaningful one, 205 debut, and then we'll wait and see what you have to say about Jon afterwards.
It puts me in the place I need to go.
Cool. Well, I appreciate the time, man. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app, and for live streaming and special content, subscribe to ESPN+.